Some of you might be wondering about my setup when I showed it shortly in the last video. Wait, what was that? Nobody's wondering about it? What? Nobody's even asking anything in the comment? Well, whatever, I'm just gonna tell you a story about my setup. You just need to deal with it. So my PC setup have gone multiple iterations. It tells a story about me looking for the best setup that is the most comfortable for me. This all starts when I was in college. I'm just gonna be honest, I never have a PC setup, neither have I played PC games before I entered college. Back then, I started the same way as everyone. Only have a crappy laptop and bought a $20 mouse from a bargain sale because it was store bankrupt. It was definitely not the best laptop, and I remember it has i3, 4GB DDR4 and no graphic card. It was painful. You know how it feels when you try to play a league with your friend and all the other 9 people already finished loading while mine is still in 40%? Finally, I begged and begged my parents to finally buy me a proper laptop for my college. Definitely for my college. Fast forward 3 years, when I finally got my contract job. My college hired me to work on a special project for 3 months, and I used some of my income to finally spurge myself for the first big part of my setup. A Corsair K95, a Corsair Glaive mouse, a Corsair Polaris during Black Friday. I still have a bad photo of my setup that I took back then. My friend sold this TV for me for a really cheap price, so I took it and used it as my second monitor. Also, I use a really small desk to put all my peripheral, so there's not a lot of real estate for me to work with, which means I will always play with a bad posture and high sensitivity. Unfortunately, my Polaris was acting up, then my mouse turned on and off multiple times while I was playing games, so I had it returned. Also, I was using a $1 headset from a dollar store until I was able to buy HyperX Cloud 2, which I love and use until today. After my contract was finished, I was introduced to a software company when I got my first ever full-time position. After I got my job, I moved out to live alone, and that was an experience that I will never forget. Because I only packed my PC and clothes, I didn't pack my TV, I don't have furniture, kitchen utensils, pet supplies, etc. I started from nothing. I remember since I don't have a shower curtain, I didn't shower and just submerged myself into my bathtub and sleep on the floor for the first 2 weeks. I'm not gonna go into too much detail because this is a setup evolution video. So my next upgrade for my setup is of course buying a real PC desk. At that time, I thought having a desk with a drawer beneath is nice since I can store my cables and stuff there. Spoilers! No, it's not. It is horrible for customization. Because of the drawer, you can't attach monitor arm or book arm later down in the row. So, for those of you who are looking into building a PC setup, just buy a tabletop and a leg separately. This way, it gives you an option to customize your setup later down the road. You can find a decent one on IKEA for cheap price. In fact, it's the one that I showed you in my last video. It's not the best tabletop, but it works. So after the decks, the next thing that we need is a chair. When I was browsing for a good chair, I was shocked. Most good chair cost above $100 at that time. I don't have $100 for a fucking chair. I still have other stuff that I need to buy as well. So what I did is I went to Walmart and I bought a camping chair. This is my chair that I used for a while before I was able to buy a proper chair. Dude, I sat down like a goblin while playing. It was really bad for my posture. I'd rather buy a plastic chair than that again. After that, my friend is selling his PS4 with a monitor bundle. He gave me a really good deal for it. It's Asus MG28UQ, so now I have a second monitor for my laptop. I will always be grateful for it, and I'm still using it until now. Fast forward, during this time is when I start interested into building my own PC, so I start saving up my money and buy parts by parts. It was definitely one of the biggest investment in my life, so I didn't pull back in terms of quality of the parts. So what I have here is 8th Gen i7 Intel processor with Z370E motherboard, water-cooled by Corsair H100i V2. I started with 16GB G-Skill Trident Z RAM, but later I upgraded to 32GB because when I stream Apex, my game would lag really badly. Then I realized I put my stick in a single channel instead of dual channel, so I might not need the 32GB after all, but it's too late now. And last but not least, a 1070 Ti for the sweet frame. I use SanDisk's 1TB 2.5-inch SSD as my main drive. Also, I have another 2.5-inch hard drive from my laptop that I don't use anymore. So that's a pro tip: if you have a laptop and you're planning to upgrade to a PC, you can pull out the hard drive and use it as an extra storage for your PC. I also have another 250GB 2.5-inch SSD just for another extra storage because it's getting full. When I was building this PC, I had VR setup in mind as well, so I chose NZXT S340 Elite. Then after I bought my VR headset, I realized that Valve Index uses DisplayPort, not HDMI, so the case doesn't do anything. So at this point, I told myself, okay, my setup is perfect. I don't think I will upgrade my setup anymore, until a certain game came out. I'm a living legend.
You ain't heard yet, you not get the message. From the moment that I'm stepping in the
Approaching drop zone.
turn to a base when I'm repping. I'm a living legend.
Apex. Oh boy. I have a love and hate relationship with this game. Some of you might remember back when I told everyone that I'm not an FPS player, that I'm bad, and I will never be able to compete with someone who have been playing with mouse and keyboard for a long time. I was Silver 1 in CSGO! Silver! But, I don't know what happened, I decided to try the game. At first, I played on my PS4 because I'm more comfortable playing it on controller than mouse and keyboard. But after a while, I switched to playing on PC. One small decision that I made changed my perspective about the world, and that is buying 144Hz monitor. If you guys are on my level back then, not being able to aim at all, I'll let you in a little secret. The problem is not you're fully bad, it's because of your monitor. Now people will probably gonna argue that you're just making an excuse because you're bad, because you're a trash fucking noob. But trust me when I say the amount of refresh rate of your monitor makes a huge difference of skill gap. Having more refresh rates lets you see the enemy movement and your crosshair smoothly. It also helps you notice when your crosshair is not on target and gives you the ability to fix your aim on the spot. I'm not gonna lie, changing from 60 FPS to 144 FPS felt like I was cheating. I can see enemy moving around so clearly that it helped me controlling my crosshair to hit my target. It also gave me the addiction to FPS and the will to become better. So, that got pretty long, so let's go to the next one. Remember when I said I was using Corsair Clef as my mouse? So I was watching Random Frank P when he was talking about his favorite mouse at the time, and it was G502.
I'll be showing you guys my favorite gaming peripherals.
I was curious on why is it so popular that I decided to try it. That change made me realize that I've been using an unsuitable mouse for my hand. So I have a pretty small hand, and I can only do palm grip on my Clef mouse. After getting G502, I started changing my grip to claw grip and give me more control of my aim. Rocket Jump Ninja explains the reason on one of his videos.
But the problem with palm grip is that you can't actually do the micro adjustments back and forward properly. Like there's barely any room there to move it. And it's only when I got a mouse that was quite small, the FK2, which I don't have here right now, where I couldn't actually palm grip it anymore, so I learned the fingertip grip. And once I actually got used to that grip, I realized I was aiming a lot better. I had so much more control. I can even show you with the MM710 here. So fingertip grip like this, I can move the mouse all the way back there and forward. And side to side, all these micro adjustments. So it just gives me that extra flexibility.
So yeah, changing to a smaller mouse improved my micro flick. I love G502. From this point is when I start my interest in streaming. So I did a bunch of little things for my stream such as Newer Mic, NW700, Logitech C920, and Stream Deck. To be honest, the only reason that I bought it is it looks interesting and I want to play it since I'm such a tech geek. So you might be thinking, okay, so now what can I upgrade other than better hardware? And you'll be wrong. There are still some stuff that I can change to make my setup more comfortable before straight up leveling up my hardware. I have a huge issue with my current setup, which is my monitor stand is hindering my mouse movement. My current desk is not that deep, which caused my mouse to touch the monitor stand every time I try to aim to the left. So what I did is, as I said earlier in the video, buy the biggest tabletop in the IKEA with the desk leg, which gives me so much more space to move my mouse around. And also I can eat on my PC setup without worrying to spill my food on my keyboard. But I didn't stop there. I started to use monitor arm to attach both of my monitors, and it is one of the most important, most comfortable upgrade that I've ever did. It lets my monitor hang in the air, leaving gap below, so I never have to worry to hit my monitor stands wherever I aim. However, I still have another bump before achieving what I consider the perfect setup. I realize now, since my monitor arm is not on the way, my mouse keeps hitting my keyboard. This is why I said I kinda regret buying K95. It's not a bad keyboard by any means, but it's definitely a hinder with me playing Apex. Also, speed switch is horrible for typing. I have a short finger, which means when I type, I hover my finger instead of lifting it up. And the amount of time that I make a typo because I graze the key is immeasurable. So I went through a couple of other keyboards like Tomoko tactile. I don't like it because it's clicky. I hate clicky switches now. Corsair K63 before settling to Royal Clutch 61% keyboard. If you guys like FPS or just keyboard in general, let me tell you something. Rather than spending a lot of money on a branded keyboard, there are a lot more options out there for mechanical keyboards that give you a better typing experience. I don't know if Royal Clutch keyboard loop their switches or not, but the typing experience is way better than other keyboard I've used so far. It's hard to explain, but the Switch feels soft and smooth, and even better since it's 60%, so I have so much more space to aim to the left now. There are still a lot more Switches out there that I haven't tried, so I might still try out a new Switches and maybe change my keyboard in the future. I've always noticed that even though my desk is in perfect dimension, it is too high. The desk like from IKEA cannot be adjusted to be shorter when I need it to be. I can feel that my arm is not in a normal position. I have to lift it a little bit, and since I'm a short person, making my chair taller is not an option since it would leave my leg dangling. So I decided to change to an electric standing deck so I have more adjustability for my setup, and I'm happy to say that it is way more comfortable now with my desk lowered. After that, I changed my G502 into G502 Lightspeed. Since another issue that I've been having is that cable tracking keeps messing up with my aim when stuck on something. And now I'm proudly announced that I'm a wireless mouse believer, but I still haven't tried a wireless keyboard or wireless headset though. So yeah, other than that, the biggest change that I did on my setup is I switched to 240Hz monitor now. However, I don't think my GPU is strong enough to speed out those frames, so it was nothing interesting. Which brings us to present. So I told you guys the story about my setup progression. It was a step-by-step changes. I didn't have all my setup at once, but I hope this story was informative for those of you who are looking into building a setup to be a hardcore gamer or entertaining to listen to. This is still not the end of my setup upgrade. I still have some stuff in mind that I want to try. For example, changing from my G502 to a lighter mouse like Model O Wireless or G Pro X Super Light. Since I still felt like when I try to flick, the mouse weight is stopping me from going where my mind wants it to go. So I'm hoping that a lighter mouse will help me with that issue. I also want to try to build a custom keyboard with properly looping the switches and custom keycaps, because I feel like I found the best keyboard for me now. I have a small update that I didn't mention in this video because this video is getting really long. But yeah, if you guys made it to this part, thank you so much for listening for the whole thing. I just want to share my thoughts process and share some bump that I had along the way so you guys don't need to make the same mistake as mine. I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye!